could probably relate to this coming after COVID, right? Like getting your lungs to kind of return back. So it could be a post-COVID thing, but it could be anytime that you've kind of been a little either a lot or slightly stagnant in your breathing capacity. We can have uh, just some little areas of pockets of our lungs that don't get shaken very well. So with these kids with cystic fibrosis, they have there's a few different tools that they can use, but one of them is a vest that they wear that literally go like jiggles their lungs like, and then I've worked with one where you breathe in and out of almost like an inhaler thingy, and it has like a vibration that kind of is an agitator to your lung tissue to kind of get things to shake up and move. Because one of the things with cystic fibrosis is that there's not a lot of fluidity, or the fluids in their lungs are thicker than what they should be, and so kind of getting things shaken up, kind of like if you're washing out your water bottle and you put some soap and hot water in there and you shake it really hard to clean it, right? So sometimes we need our lungs to have a good shake in order for us to kind of get to the deep roots, and I think that's what I was describing before. So you can do this without having to go for a run. You can do this without having to put a vibratory vest on you. You can do this just simply by working with your own breath. So there's so many amazing things we can do with the breath in our yoga practice. But today we're going to work a little bit with that shake, and then working with the movement of the diaphragm, getting the diaphragm to have its full elasticity. So a lot of times, when we're not moving very much or we're at a computer a while, we start to slouch and we start to get kind of just that sunken, frozen position in our chest and our lungs. So today we're just gonna do some very gentle work. It's not gonna, we're not gonna go doing sprints, yoga sprints. We're not gonna like do burpees or anything, but just to have this sense of learning how to stay mobile and free in our lung tissues. So, okay, let me read what Rosie. Hold on, I'm having trouble reading it. Okay, yeah, exactly. All right, so yes, let's go ahead and start our practice with just an awareness of our body and our breath. Okay, so as you sit up straight and tall and find a comfortable position, let's go ahead and drop our awareness. And one of the first things you can do for having good posture is to make sure that you're sitting on something instead of sitting on the floor. When you sit flat on the ground, we're much more likely to slouch. Okay, so getting up so that the pelvis has a little bit of assistance in that anterior tilt. So we have this energy to help us lift upright. All right, so when you find yourself in a good posture, let's just take a moment to close our eyes and drop our awareness down into our body. And see what it feels like to just stay present and aware of how your breath is feeling. Try not to change anything yet. Okay, we're just trying to catch a view of how we breathe. And this is hard to do because the moment you become aware of your breath, you change your breath. So see what you can do to open up, resist that slouch, get the heart to expand, the rib cage to widen, the collarbones to spread wide. And as you have good posture, sometimes we pinch the back body thinking that we have to push forward. So think less about pushing forward and more about the whole cylinder of your torso getting wide. Imagine that you're trying to expand in all directions, that it's not just the front of your chest rising and moving back, but your sides, your back, everything expanding and then condensing. So think three-dimensionally. Think like spherically, like a sun that's expanding and condensing. And now, if you notice that your breath is naturally getting wider, bigger, broader, more full, that's great. Be where you are. Try not to push into the inhale where you're forcing more breath in. It's really about creating space. Now that we've had a few breaths of kind of paying attention to the cylinder, let's now pay attention to the top and the bottom. So, the diaphragm, start there. See what it feels like to notice the diaphragm. The diaphragm doesn't have a whole lot of nerve endings. It's not always the most palpable, feelable, sensible part of us. So just pay attention to what you are feeling. Having that sense of the diaphragm being able to drop down and widen as you inhale, and then drawing back in and up as you exhale. So if you think of the dome that the diaphragm is, the inhale flattens the dome and broadens it, and the exhale narrows the dome and brings it back. So whether you have that visual in your mind or you're just sensing it in your body, notice the movement. Pay attention to, this top half of our cylinder of our breath. So around the neck, the collarbones, the top of your ribs. So just pay attention to maybe those scalene muscles on the side of your neck that tend to work when we're breathing hard. See if you can sense the top of your lungs kind of peaking at your collarbones. The movement of your top ribs, those first and second ribs, seeing if you can sense their movement on the inhale, kind of that lift and drawing wide, and then dropping and drawing in. And then finally, let's put all three of those spaces in our body together, the top, the bottom. So around our neck, our top ribs, around our diaphragm, and then of course the full cylinder of your rib cage. So as you breathe in this expansive sun, everything's moving out, up, down, out, all the spaciousness, creating as much space. And on the exhale, everything gently is condensing. Think of condensement instead of compression. Like it's just this natural ebb and flow of the movement of our breath. So sense all the dimensions. Breathing through your nose if you can. Finding that slow, steady inhale, the slow, steady exhale. You can bring in that ujjayi breath if that's a happy pattern for you. Of those three areas, the diaphragm around the neck and top ribs, and then of course the torso, rib cage itself. Which is the area in your body that you're sensing you tend to hold tension in, or freeze more in, or have less control of, or less mobility in? So just without judgment, just pay attention to you, maybe your weak link in those three structures of breath. Place our hands together and just know that there's so many different ways you can approach learning about yourself and your body, about your breath. And each practice that you kind of bring your awareness into your breathing is a gift. It's just another way of bringing ourselves into health and well being and presence when we tend to our breathing. So offer an intention to really pay attention and cultivate the breath as best as you can without strain. Release your hands. All right, so as we come onto our back and find the resting that we have in this first posture, such a gift to be able to just lie down for a moment and bring your body horizontal if you've been, vertical for however long we've been out of bed, right? Let's go ahead and feel into that nice expansive reach. The arms can lift overhead, and you might notice your nervous system has a nice little awakening. Maybe you want to squeeze somewhere, maybe you want to yawn, maybe you want to move. Just kind of follow the natural tendencies of the body right now. And remember that your practice is something pleasurable and something to enjoy. So remember to savor. All right. Draw your knees into your chest and let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. All right, let's circle your knees, hang on to them, and just allow some mobility. Rolling here, just letting your hips relax, holding with your hands on your knees so that the legs are doing not much work. Roll the other way, nice and easy through your sacrum, through your hip joints, through your low back. All right, and then let's open up the knees away from the middle. Bring them back in toward, and any pattern that you want. This can be zigzaggy or circly or anything that just helps you kind of catch the sensation of your hip joints. All right, then right knee into your chest, left leg on the ground, and give some ankle mobility now. So wiggle your toes, roll around in your ankles, feeling the freedom in your feet. Get a little heavier in your head, relax the shoulders. And then let's switch sides, left knee and right leg long on the ground, and feel into that mobility of your ankles here. Breathing deeply. All right, and then stretch out your body, reaching outward into space, feeling that star where you expand into your fingers and your toes. And then exhale, draw your knees in, pick up your head, snug little ball. Once more, feeling that open big space, just like we were trying to explore that sphere of expansion and condensement. Let your whole body feel this. One more time, opening big and wide as you expand. Exhale, drawing in. Release your head down onto the ground and put your feet onto the ground. Bring your arms out to the sides and let's windshield wiper our knees. Sometimes when I don't have time for yoga, but I want yoga, sometimes I'll just do that starfish and nothing else, just a few rounds of the starfishes, and I feel like something resets in me. So, what are your magic poses that you kind of turn to when you have 2 minutes to just kind of refresh your body or reset your mind? What are your go-tos? All right, so let's find our feet on the ground, knees up. We're going to go into a deeper twist. Move your hips over to the right, knees up left, twisting like we often do at the end of class. Finding this here. So, one of the beautiful things about twisting is what happens in our lungs when we twist. Because of the angles of how our ribs land and our vertebrae land, we change the structure of how our lungs and our ribs are positioned to each other. Such a beautiful little compression on the lung tissue. So enjoy the full inhale and the full exhale. Coming back to neutral. Shift your hips over to the left, knees coming down to the right, twisting open. Now notice if turning one direction is more, challenging to your lungs than the other. So for me, twisting this, even though our knees are going right, we're twisting left. And twisting left, since my right shoulder surgery, has become much more compromised than the other way. And it's so funny how different patterns that we set up in our body, subtle little changes. So pay attention when you do things that are, on one side and then on the other side. Do you have difference? And if you find one side tighter, a little more restrictive, play in there. Notice. Try to pay attention to how a restriction in one part of your body is like a tug on a string that can impact everywhere else. Where does that string tugging land in your body? Okay, expanding outward. One more time to a star. Exhale, drawing your knees in, and let's roll to your side. All right, come up onto all fours. Definitely another go-to for me is cat-cow. It's just such a simple way of making sure your spine gets some mobility. Great thing to do first thing in the morning if you're feeling stiff or it's difficult for you to kind of get the engines running in the morning. Cat-cows are a beautiful way to breathe, a beautiful way to move the viscera, a beautiful way to move the nervous system and the vertebrae. Let's just find that arching and rounding. So notice how you are breathing. Where do you inhale and where do you exhale? Many of us have, a lot of frozen breathing patterns where we tend to not fully breathe. We don't take advantage of all the real estate that's available in our lung tissue. We tend to live in one small house instead of on the whole block. All right, and then go ahead and come to neutral and just start moving your spine in all sorts of ways. Maybe you want to wag your tail. Maybe you want to circle. Just try to think less and feel more. And what a great place for us to start experiencing how all of the muscles in our torso and the joints in our torso impact our breathing. Okay, and then come back down to child's pose when you feel ready. So drop down close to your heels, walk the hands far out in front of you, and just feel this stretch through your shoulders. Notice your breathing. We're so lucky being yogis because we move our lung tissue and our rib cage without even having to focus on that's what we're intending, right? But we, in our yoga practice, inadvertently or intentionally, open up a lot of the capacity for breathing. It's such a beautiful gift of our practice. Let's walk the hands over to one side or the other. And now we get to feel into those ribs and open up from your hand down through your arm into your armpit, your rib cage, your side waist, your pelvis, your sit bone. And just feel that full side opening. And then let's walk our hands over to the other side and enjoy. Feeling a deep sense of dropping. Lifting up through your ribs on that side. Try to notice from your hand all the way to your sit bone. Every little nook and cranny. And then come back up onto all fours. Let's take puppy pose. Walk the hands forward. Drop your chest down. Lift your hips high so they stay right over your knees. And we're opening up the thoracic spine in that unique back bendy way. Full breaths here. Walk your knees forward, hands back, find your two blocks and put them like this on the ground so that they form a wide support. Put your elbows on them, stretch back towards child's pose, and drop your thumbs toward your spine. I have my toes curled under so that I'm a little higher in support for my child's pose. See what feels good to you. As your armpits start to descend, try not to let them sink. We want to have a lengthening from our elbows to our ribs. Breathe into your rib cage here. Breathe into your armpits. And come out of there, come back onto all fours. Move the blocks out of the way. You can have fists on the ground or hands on the ground. And let's do some rib cage rolling. So over to one side, down toward the ground with your ribs, over to the other side, up toward the sky with your ribs. Now try to go any pace that moves the breath. So remember, we're not doing this with the held breath. We're moving our breath. Feeling all that looseness being cultivated in our rib cage. Go the other direction. How's your breathing? And back towards child's pose one more time. Stretching through your spine. Taking a full breath, let it travel down your back. All right, onto all fours. Let's lift the left arm up in the air. Remember that unique thing that a twist does for our lungs, thread the needle. And just enjoy. Try to breathe deeply, puff into your bottom rib cage. All right, and then face the ground. Let the arm kind of slide out just a little bit so our collarbones are broadening and we're opening up the shoulder. Inhale, bring that arm back up in the air, hand comes down. Second side, arm lifting high, drop that shoulder down. Coming into the twist, feeling, if you notice the twisting one way was harder than the other way, which way are you at right now? Can you puff into that expansiveness of your rib cage? And then we'll slide out just a little bit so you face the ground with your chest, stretching open your shoulder. Inhale, reach that arm all the way up in the air. Okay, come back onto all fours. We're almost off our hands, okay? So take this if your wrists are bothering you. And we're just gonna work with the diaphragm here for a minute. So find a neutral spine, flat back. We're nice and open now in a lot of different places. So let's see if you can just let your belly fall. Oh. See if you can, sometimes I make a sound with my exhale here to kind of get into the very bottom of my diaphragm. Any sound that naturally wants to come out. All right, now that you've hopefully given your diaphragm a full release, we're going to do a little work of drawing the diaphragm in and up and then releasing it down. And we're going to do this first with the channels of breathing. So as we inhale, you're going to drop your belly down toward the ground. And as you exhale, draw the belly in. So you can think about your navel moving toward your spine because your transverse abdominis and your diaphragm work in harmony, should be working in harmony. So you can think about it just as a core, right? Navel to spine, kind of shrinky dinking, your shrink wrapping against your spine with your core on the exhale. And then the inhale, everything falls again. So try not to turn this, let me show you from the side. Try not to do this where, you know, we're arching and then rounding. Okay, so it's not a cat-cow. We're staying neutral and we're gonna let our belly fall and we're gonna pull our belly in. All right, so move with the breath. As you inhale, expand your belly. And as you exhale, draw and shrink wrap against your spine. So think that this is, of course, your abdominal muscles are going to be doing the work here, but try to visualize and feel the diaphragm working in concert with that transverse abdominis. Transverse abdominis is that broad abdominal muscle that kind of wraps like a corset around your back, around your sides to your fronts. Notice how you also might have some action of the muscles, your intercostal muscles. As you exhale, you may notice some tension in your rib cage. Breathing through your nose. All right. Let's curl the toes under and lift up to dog pose. Now we get to have, you know, our legs join in and our pelvic floor too. We haven't talked about the pelvic floor at all, but it's part of the party. All right, so first, let's just take a moment to pedal your feet. Try not to lose your breath. So, you know, if you tend to breath hold when you're focusing on another area of your body, see if you can stir the two pots at the same time. Keep stirring the pot of the breath as you stir the pot of maybe the feeling in your calves or your hamstrings. All right, so a deep root, a deep rise. Fill up your breath. Dog pose is a great place to breathe. Full inhale. Full exhale. You feel that full sun. You feel both the top and bottom, you know, the diaphragm and the top of your ribs, and the full sun of the sides, that 360. Let's walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Fold deeply. Bend your knees, spread your toes, relax. Wag your tail, shake your head, shimmy. Inhale for a halfway lift. Growing a little longer, feeling the backs of the legs open here. Exhale. Melting again. One more time. A halfway lift. Melt and fold. Push off your feet. Take your time. If you know you get dizzy on the way up, you can pause halfway with your hands on your knees. You can squeeze to the midline when you get up there. Protect your blood pressure. Let it kind of find its way. And take a deep breath in. We'll reach the arms up to the sky, opening up. Let's cactus and feel that freedom in the opening of your heart. And then reach the arms up. Imagine you have a bar that you're trying to pull down. So feel the back body, give a good squeeze as you drop your elbows down, 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 down. Inhale, arms up. Bring your hands straight out to the sides. Press out through your palms. Get all the invigoration through your hands, especially after being on our hands all that time. And then release. We'll have some big shoulder circles here. So big back strokes, okay? Full inhale, exhale. Interlace your hands behind your back, open up across. You can always use a strap behind your back if you can't reach well with your hands. Open up across the front of your heart. Feel the heads of the arm bones expand open. And then exhale and bend forward and let your arms leave the ground or leave the back. Let your neck relax, soften. Full breaths here as you open up your back, open up your shoulders. Where's your breath going? And then release your arms down. Okay. Give your hands a little bit of a shake as you come standing back up. Okay. Let's take our right arm over our left arm. So eagle arms, drop your shoulders, lift your elbows up and away, and just feel that stretch across the top of your shoulders. Maneuver this however you want. You can keep descending your shoulders or lifting your elbows or widening your sit bones. Whatever kind of action in the body gives you that beautiful stretch across the tops of the shoulders. And then we're gonna lean that forward, bend your knees, and let your elbows hang. Unwind. While you're down here, wind up the other way. Okay, so other arm on top, lift up to eagle again, eagle arms again. Drop the shoulders, lift the elbows. Where are you feeling this stretch? Full breaths. And relax. Give your arms a little bit of a shake. Maybe another big full swing. All right, so notice how far we've come already. Just that sense of awareness and opening. Do you have a sense of your upper body feeling a little bit more available and free than it did in the beginning of class? Notice your breathing here. Can you expand your diaphragm on your inhale? Can you condense it on the exhale? Do you feel that full 360 cylinder of your rib cage moving as you breathe? So we're going to have a little bit of mobility now. Okay, this is our, sense of vibration. And you can put your hands on your chest if you want some support for your chest. You can have your arms be free. Make some noise. Okay. Imagine the shaking of your, like someone's just shaking you up and down like that. Water bottle filled with soapy water. And this is good for our whole body, not just our lungs, but it's definitely good for your lungs. Make sure you're breathing deep. Make some sounds. All right. Find your breath here. Okay, last little bit of external shaking we'll do will be some tapping, you can use fists, you can use finger pads, you can use open palms, whatever kind of movement, and it just get into your lungs. Okay, and remember, being on the tops of your shoulders, right above your collarbones is a really important place for you to kind of tap. There's a lot around your collarbones. You can go anywhere you want to go. You can go as fast or as slow. Any part of your body that you want to pound. We're focusing on trying to open up our lung tissue here. So when you find a good spot, like for me right now, this feels really good right at my side ribs on the bottom. So I'm just going to hang out there because this feels good. You find you. You might find places that are very tender. And you can just explore that very gently. Okay, so if you had a partner, if we were doing this in class, I'd have you take turns on each other's back and giving some pounding on each other's backs. So if you have, a friend or a partner or somebody that will do that for you, doing some pounding on your back can be such a great way of getting some movement in your lungs. All right. And then once you're done with that, couple more big breaths in your bounce. Notice we haven't even done any pranayama, right? We're just getting our apparatus free. Pranayama is more about, directing where the energy of the breath is going. Right now, we're just trying to get the house loosened up. All right. So notice how you feel. Take a big breath and see if it's just a little bit easier to breathe fully, to be aware of the breath, to have posture for breath. Now, if you were having a sullen day, or blue day, cloudy day, do you think that doing some of the practices we've just done would help you kind of invigorate the open heart? All right, so let's now do some regular yoga. Step to the front of your mat. And let's move through a sun salutation. So have your feet hip width apart. Now rising up, and then a big swan dive swoop, folding forward, let your back open. Focus on your breathing. Inhale for a long, spacious spine. Exhale, melting to fold again. Let's do that one more time. A halfway lift, feeling the feet ground, the sit bones lift, the thighs move back. Exhale fully as you release down. Step back to dog pose. Find that full breath here. Notice all the beautiful space for breathing. Fill up a full deep breath. Complete a full exhale. Come forward into a plank. Now everything starts to shift and change a little bit as we come into this posture. We no longer have that freedom. So what's available? Try to continue moving through the breath. Full inhale into the ribs. The full exhale. Come down to the ground when you're ready. Do a couple of shoulder rolls so we feel that freedom in the shoulder blades. And then inhale to a cobra pose, opening the chest. As you exhale, melt back down. Arms wide, palms on the ground. Spread your hands, lift up into this wide cobra. Exhale. Take Sphinx pose for a moment. Forearms underneath, or elbows underneath your shoulders, forearms forward. And just see what it feels like to lengthen through the front of your spine. Reach all the way through your legs into your feet. Find a little bit of stability through your core and let the full breath happen. Can you see the counter of the pose we normally take all day long, which is a little bit of slouch, right? A little bit of leaning forward. Can you feel the opposition in this pose? Countering so much of what happens to our body through the day. All right, put your head down, pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees. Release your back. That was a long held cobra or sphinx. Come up onto all fours and move the spine however you want to move the spine. Remember, we're not going for the aerobic capacity right now in the sense of, getting your heart rate up and breathing to maintain that. Right now, we're just trying to learn how to open the breath and learn how to take some good deep breaths. Okay, let's come into a lunge. Let's bring our right foot in front, left foot behind, and open up that hip flexor. So remember how everything's connected. Your psoas and your diaphragm have this beautiful relationship, just like your transverse abdominis and your psoas and your diaphragm have a beautiful relationship. So when we open up in our psoas, our diaphragm gets a little message from that. So climb up a little higher onto blocks if you'd like. Climb up a little higher onto your thigh if you'd like. And then let's open up a little deeper, reaching one arm, that right arm or left arm, reaching it up high, a little bit of an arc over. And then join with the other arm, press your foot down, feel that extension. And then we'll turn this into a twist. Anything you want. You can put your hand on the ground, your elbow on the ground. You can lift the back knee up. You can keep it down, twisting open. While you're here, breathe as deeply into that inhale as the twist can help you find. So there's a little compression onto the ribs here. So feel that pushing up against the resistance as you inhale. Hands back down. Lift your back knee up off the ground and turn to a wide-legged pose on your mat. Your hands can be on blocks if you'd like. Your hands can be on the ground. Wide legs, release your head down. Notice how much room you have to breathe. You know, when you have that wide-legged stance, there's so much space in your pelvis. Notice how much room it gives your breath. And then we'll come back to the front again. So bring that right foot in front, left foot back, keep the knee off the ground. Bend your knee, and let's straighten. Finding breath. Ground yourself, root, rise up. Feel that beautiful expansion. You can put your back heel down if you prefer. You can keep your heel up, but open up into the chest. Feel the back bend living in your upper body. And then exhale, hands down, back foot comes forward, fold deeply. A halfway lift. How's your breath? Melting to fold again. Other foot's in front now, left in front, knee down. Open up through that hip flexor on the right side. Just enjoy. Root into your feet. Notice the fullness of your breath. And let's start climbing up. Maybe hands come to your knee. Pay attention to how your psoas and your diaphragm are relating to each other. As you reach that right arm up, be active in your legs. Press your front foot, your back knee down. Feel that support. Maybe a little arcing over. Okay, two arms up to the sky. Feel that extension. Root through your feet. And then we'll find a twist here. Whatever you did on the first side, let's do on the second. Hugging to the midline with your legs, feeling that deep sense of ground. The collarbones are open. Feel the shoulder blades drop. Find your breath. See if you can push up against your ribs a little bit. Feel your lungs touch your ribs. Coming back to center. Lift up off your back knee. Okay. And we'll bend and straighten the front knee here. Finding breath. Lengthen your exhales. Fill up your inhales. Think about clearing all. You've cleared out the house. You know, there's so much room. You just moved a whole lot of clutter out of your lungs where we have all this open space for breath. Open your lights, open your windows, open your curtains. Root down into your feet. Rise up to your crescent lunge. You can always put your back heel down to Vira-1 if you prefer. But feel the lift and opening, a little bit of a back bend if it's comfy in your body. Fill up your breath. Empty it out. Bring your hands down and turn sideways on your mat. A wide-legged stance again. This time, instead of coming into a forward fold, we're going to come into Skandasana. So you can do anything you want with your arms, and we'll just take a little bit of a variation of this, just kind of finding the ground of our legs. So feeling their deep roots, you can put your hands anywhere you want, and you can just slide your energy into one foot and then come to the other. How's the fullness of your breath? As you're starting to require more oxygen in your legs, where's your breath? And then root into your deep squat, elbows inside your knees. Full breaths here. Push off your feet, come to a standing star. Open up for your breath. Dropping down like a goddess, feeling that energy down, and then rising back up. Start to regulate your breath if you can, slow it down if you can. The exhale drops us down, and the inhale brings us up. Now, the danger of doing it this way is that your diaphragm might want to follow your hands. Remember, our diaphragm, when we inhale, is dropping down, and when we exhale, is going back in. So if that gets confusing with your arm movements, put your hands down so that you feel as you inhale, there's a deepening, and as you exhale, there's a narrowing. Okay. Just however your breath naturally forms, you might find yourself switching where now you're exhaling in a different place than you were before. And then we'll heel toe our feet in. And now we've, woken up our whole body a little bit. Give your legs a little bit of a shake. Give your arms a little bit of a shake. Give your body a little bit of a shake. Let's just feel the deep fullness of breath. Maybe your heart rate went up a little bit doing the standing poses. So notice how your breath and your heart are working together to help your body oxygenate. So instead of fighting, feeling short of breath, breathe deeply. Fill yourself, empty yourself. You feel that diaphragm drop down and wide on the in-breath and narrow that dome back up on your exhale. Come down onto your mat. We're going to do heart bench. So one block underneath your head and one block either this way or this way underneath your back. So you can decide, depending on your height, sometimes the long block feels better, sometimes the narrow block feels better. But we want to make sure that our head is supported and our thoracic spine. So you don't want to have the experiment, the block under your back, you want to have in a happy place. All right, so your arms can be out wide or close in. Just find a place that is happy for your upper body. You can have your feet on the ground or your legs straight. You can knock your knees or Supta Baddha Konasana on your knees. If this is pokey, you can put a blanket over the blocks. So when you get to a comfortable place, let your head go. Soften through your jaw. Take advantage of the full breath in, and the full breath out. All right, now just the teeniest bit of pranayama in this place. We're just going to imagine on the inhale, we're going to fill up. So don't do it until I explain the whole thing. We're going to fill up your lungs, kind of like fill the tank. Get into all the nooks and crannies you can. Try to do this in a way that's not straining through your neck, and you want to top the tanks in a good way. And then when we get to that full breath, so hopefully you're just breathing normally still while I'm talking about this. But when we get to that full breath, I want you to just hold for, I don't know, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever is longer if that's more available, whatever is available without strain, without putting yourself through the paces of too much challenge. We're going to hold that. And then as you begin to exhale, we're going to keep the shape like you popped a paper mache balloon and you still have the paper mache shape of the balloon until you meet resistance and then let everything fall. So, normally we don't do this in this position. So just notice your heart bench and make sure your body's okay. Full exhale to begin. And then a full inhale. Through the nose, always through the nose. When you get to the full, where you feel like you've just touched every little nook and cranny of your lungs, hold for as long as you can without strain. And whenever that moment arises where you're like, yep, time to let go, we're going to keep the shape. Keep the shape, exhale until you feel like, oh, that's not working, and then let your ribs release. And then I want you to just take a few normal recovery breaths in between. So don't repeat this one right after the other, but try to do 3 rounds total. So you take your pace. Make sure that you're exhaling all the way. When maybe if you're ready, we can try another one. Breathing through your nose, trying to fill all the nooks and crannies. When you get to a place of holding, hold, hold. And when you're ready to exhale, you can slowly start the breath out, let the shape stay until it feels uncomfortable, and then release the ribs. Now, if you're ready to be off the props, you can do this last one just flat on the ground. Or if you're still assessing that you're comfortable in this position, then we'll have one more like this. Before we do the third, let your shoulders and head melt. Full breath in, full breath out. When you feel ready, third inhale. Feeling all the nooks and crannies fill. Once you get full, hold until you feel like it's time. And whenever you feel like it's time, then you can slowly start to let the exhale go, keeping the shape of your lungs until you meet that resistance, and then release all the way. And now if you're still on the blocks, take the soles of your feet together, knees wide, put your hands on your belly, and let your breath travel. Feel your belly rise and fall. Your breath's not going there, but your organs are being displaced by your diaphragm. Feel that displacement, the movement on the inhale, the movement on the exhale. You're going to come rolling off of your little perch. Come to a curled ball on your side. Support your head for a moment. Let your back round. Open up the back of your ribs. Right, and then when you're ready for Shavasana, we'll come onto our back and find our rest. If there's anything you need, I know we didn't, get into the hips at all today. And, maybe you're like, oh, but I really, really, really wanted a reverse pigeon. Then by all means, this is your practice. So maybe a twist is required in your body. Just find your way, taking any postures you need, so that when you come to lie down, and remember, you can have support under your knees, you can have your legs, calves up on a chair. There's so many ways. You can do Shavasana curled on your side if you really enjoyed that feeling of letting the back body open. You can do Shavasana on your side. So let's melt. What a gift our yoga practices, where we get to just spend time breathing and being present in the body, caring for the body. Breathing. Let's hold this one more time. Actually, start to move your body whatever way serves. You can roll to your side or move around in your limbs. As you eventually, taking your time, find your way back to the posture, your seated posture that was very supportive. Notice if your awareness of your breath, of your ribs, of your lungs, your posture has changed. Do you have an imprint of aliveness? Let's bring our hands together. Breathe deeply as we offer our energy outward. That caring for ourselves is one of the best things we can do for everyone in our lives. Send forth your love and care. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.